Hey there everyone, welcome back to Succinct Psychology. My name is Jaia Hendrickson, and today I'll be picking back up where I last left off in my previous video on affect behavior and cognition. So affect behavior and cognition are three aspects that directly reflect the idea of social psychology. And that's that social psychology is the study of the feelings, behaviors, and thoughts of individuals in the social situation. All right, so let's begin with social cognition. So what is social cognition? Well, social cognition is cognition or thinking that relates to social activities and that helps us understand and predict our own behaviors as well as the behaviors of the people around us. Through social cognition, people often develop a set of social knowledge that contains information about the self, about other people, about social relationships, and social groups. We can classify this as a schema. And a schema is a knowledge representation that includes information about a person or a group. And the way we think about people or groups or things can be described as an attitude. And attitude is a knowledge representation that includes liking or disliking of things, people, or groups, or groups in general. So social psychologists are often occupied with studying the ways that people interpret and understand their worlds, and in particular, how they make judgments about the causes of other people's behavior. So things such as social cognition, schema, attitudes are terms given to these processes that social psychologists study to better understand that. All right, now affect. So we experience affect in the form of moods and emotions. And a mood refers to positive or negative feelings that are in the background of our everyday lives. When we're in a good mood, our thought process opens up and we're more likely to approach others. We're more helpful and we're more friendly when we're in a good mood than when we're in a bad mood. And some research has even suggested that we're more creative when we're in a good mood as well. In contrast, when we're in a bad mood, we're more likely to remain by ourselves rather than interact with others. And emotions describe short but often intense mental and physiological feeling states. In comparison with moods, emotions are shorter, stronger, and a more specific form of affect. So we see here we have some key differences between moods and emotions. So as I mentioned, duration. So moods are usually minutes to hours, while emotions can be seconds to minutes. So emotions are much shorter than moods. And then we have things here such as expression. There's no unique nonverbal expressions for moods the same way they are for emotions. Emotions have universal facial expressions. When someone's mad, when someone's sad, when someone's happy, it's a universal expression that most people can identify on another person. And then, of course, we also have things such as awareness. So it's difficult to pinpoint what might cause a mood, what are the exact triggers and causes of that, versus an emotion where we tend to know what caused that specific emotion. So the triggers are more easily identifiable. And finally, we have the trifecta, behavior. Now, when we're talking about social behavior, I want you to keep in mind two words, and that's relationship and cooperation. So social behavior is determined by principles of reciprocal altruism and social exchange. And social exchange refers to the sharing of goods, services, emotions, and other social outcomes. So, for example, a social reward would be positive outcomes that we give and receive when we interact with others. And this can include things such as affection, financial support, attention, and praise. In contrast, we have things that are social cost, and these are negative outcomes that we give and receive when we interact with others. And these can include things such as the guilt we feel when we feel our behaviors have been inappropriate, or the effort involved in developing and maintaining interpersonal relationships, or the frustrations that accrue when disagreements with others develop. And reciprocal altruism refers to cooperation by giving benefits to those who are in need, but with the expectation that those benefits are going to be returned at a future time. All right, now we're going to start making a transition into conducting research in social psychology. But I have another brain exercise that I want you guys to think about. So answer each of the following questions using your own intuition as either true or false. So the first one we have here is opposites attract. Second, we have an athlete who wins the bronze medal or third place in an event is happier about his or her performance than the athlete who wins the silver medal, second place. And third, we have having good friends you can count on can keep you from catching colds. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a second to think about that. And I want you to give your intuitive answer as either true or false. And we've often heard opposites attract. And the second one is referring to if an athlete wins third place, is he happier than an athlete that's won second place? I'm sure you've heard of this as well. And having good friends you can count on can keep you from catching colds. So think about that, and whether you want to write it down or just have the answer in your head. All right, here's a few more that I want you to think about as well. I'm not going to read all of them out, but I'm going to read some of the more prominent ones. So we'll start here with 5. The greater the reward promised for an activity, the more one will come to enjoy engaging in that activity. We have 6. Physically attractive people are seen as less intelligent than less attractive people. And then we have 7. Punching a pillow or screaming out loud is a good way to reduce frustration and aggressive tendencies. So I'm sure you've heard of some of these, of course, such as physically attractive people are seen as less intelligent and less attractive. There's a saying, all brown, no brain, that's sort of similar. The greater the reward promised for an activity, the more one will come to enjoy engaging in the activity. You might have heard that as well. And then I'm sure you've heard punching a pillow or screaming out loud is a good way to reduce frustration and aggressive tendencies. So I want you to think about those and give me your intuitive answer whether those are true and false. And again, you can write it down or you can just have that in your mind. Let you think about that for a second. All right, hopefully you have some intuitive answers brewing. For the first one, opposites attract. That is in fact false. The opposite is more the case. Similarity, particularly in values and beliefs, is an important determinant of liking. So we often hear that opposites attract, but the truth is it's not true. You may at some point, you might find that it complements you for a time being to have somebody that has opposite beliefs and likes, but eventually over time you're going to find that you guys cannot connect on a lot of levels. So in reality, opposites ultimately do not attract. Okay, an athlete who wins the bronze medal or third place in an event is happier about his or her performance than the athlete who has won the silver medal, second place. This is true because we frequently compare our actual outcomes with what might have been. This leads the silver medalist to compare the possibility of having won the gold, whereas the bronze medal compares the possibility of having won no medal at all. So, third place is thinking, I could have won no medal at all, but here I am, I got third. And second place is thinking, well, I could have won first. So you can see how their moods might be opposites. And then having good friends you can count on can keep you from catching colds. This is in fact true. Social support, the perception that we have people we can count on, talk to, provides many positive or mental and physical, or to our mental and physical health. So yes, that's actually true. You would think just because it's not, intuitively you might think that it wouldn't have an effect, but it does in fact. The mental and the physical actually connect. And then here, what else did we read? Oh yes. The greater the reward promised for an activity, the more one will come to enjoy engaging in that activity. That's actually false. In fact, providing reward for an activity that is already enjoyed, such as paying a child to get good grades, can undermine a person's enjoyment of that activity. So that might actually make it worse. All right, physically attractive people are seen as less intelligent than less attractive people. That is also false. And there's a little joke here. It says, you of course know that this must be false. Why else would you look your very best when you go in for a job interview? And then finally we have punching a pillow or screaming out loud is a good way to reduce frustration and aggressive tendencies. That is also false. There's no evidence that engaging in violent behavior can ever reduce the desire to be aggressive. The opposite is actually much more likely. Engaging in aggression likely leads to more aggression. All right, everyone, before we get into the weeds of conducting research in social psychology, I'm going to cut the video off here before we run on for too long. but I hope you enjoyed that presentation on affect, behavior, and cognition, as well as some intuitive answers on some social psychology concepts. And I'll see you guys next time.